My name is Joyce. Standing at the top of the grand staircase in the mansion, I look down at the stunned faces below. The once jubilant party has turned into a scene of shock and disbelief. My father's face is as pale as a ghost, and my sister's eyes are wide with fear. It all started when I received the news. The mansion, which I had slaved over for years, was about to be given away. I come from a wealthy family. My father, Mr. Thompson, is a powerful businessman known for his arrogance and self-centeredness. He always favored my sister, Lily, who is 10 years younger than me. Lily has always been the apple of his eye, pampered and spoiled. One day, the mansion smelled of fresh paint and a sense of entitlement. Mr. Thompson, with his wide, insincere grin, announced in front of a crowd of relatives sipping champagne, "We're gifting the house to your sister, Lily. And you're not invited, Joyce." I didn't show any immediate reaction. Instead, I glanced at my uncle, Mr. Wilson, my father's younger brother. Mr. Wilson is a quiet man, often overshadowed by my father's charisma. He rarely speaks up at family gatherings, always a silent observer. I whispered to him, "You want to tell them? Or should I?" He hesitated, torn between fear of my father and loyalty to me. After a moment, he nodded. I smiled calmly and murmured to myself, 3 days. In 3 days, they'll know who really owns this house. You see, I had worked my fingers to the bone for years to pay off the mortgage of this mansion. I didn't rely on any inheritance or loans from my family. It was all my blood, sweat, and patience. My father and sister thought they could just erase me from the picture, that their words could change the reality. But they were about to face the truth. 3 days later, the invitations arrived. They were glossy, with gold embossed letters. Everyone in the family was invited, except me. I held one of the invitations in my hand and smirked. Lily's name shimmered on the front, while mine was conspicuously absent. When I arrived at the mansion, it was filled with balloons, laughter, and the smell of expensive hors d'oeuvres. I didn't knock or announce myself. I simply walked through the front door. The guests froze, and my father's face lost all its color. "Joyce, what are you doing here?" He stammered, already fumbling for words. "I thought you weren't invited." Lily squealed and clutched her champagne flute as if it could protect her. I ignored them both and turned to the crowd. "Do you all see this?" I asked, my voice calm and carrying across the grand hall. "This house, the one you think belongs to Lily?" Then I gestured behind me. Mr. Wilson, the lawyer, stepped forward holding a stack of documents. "Actually," he said, clearing his throat, "ownership was transferred 3 days ago. It's fully paid off and is under Joyce Thompson's name." Mouths dropped and phones fell to the ground. The laughter stopped abruptly. My father's hand shook and Lily's eyes widened in horror. I smiled slowly and deliberately. "Looks like the party is mine." The tables had turned. My father's face was pale, and the veins at his temples were visible. "That's impossible," he said, his voice cracking. "I handled everything. I paid the bank." I stepped closer, letting the silence hang in the air. "You mean you tried?" I corrected softly. "But you forgot one thing. I have the proof. Every payment, every transfer, every signed receipt." Lily's laughter had vanished, replaced by a flush of fear. "Joyce, we can fix this," she stammered, her voice high-pitched and brittle. "No," I said, shaking my head. "There's nothing to fix. You should have learned to respect me before thinking you could erase me." The guests whispered among themselves, glancing at the documents Mr. Wilson held. Some of them were family friends and neighbors who had watched me build my career and manage my finances over the years. Now they saw the undeniable proof. My father's eyes darted between me and Mr. Wilson. "Why didn't you tell me?" he demanded, desperation creeping into his voice. I smiled. "Because some lessons are better delivered in person." I paused to let everyone absorb the moment. The reality was clear. The house, the symbol of their pride and wealth, was mine. No argument, no tantrum, no mockery could take it back. Lily opened her mouth, but no sound came out. In that silence, victory tasted sweet. The party that was meant to celebrate Lily's so-called achievement had completely changed. My father's hands fisted at his sides. "You can't do this," he shouted, his voice raw with disbelief. I let his words hang in the air, knowing they were useless. I walked through the room slowly, the soft click of my heels echoing against the marble floor. "I could have let you keep pretending," I said, my voice measured and almost gentle. "I could have stayed invisible while you stole what was mine. But I don't do that anymore." Mr. Wilson's gaze met mine, and he gave me a quiet nod of solidarity. The room seemed to shrink around my father and sister. All the things they had relied on, like intimidation, favoritism, and family influence, evaporated. I reached the staircase and let my dress trail behind me like a curtain closing on their arrogance. "From now on," I said, looking over my shoulder, "every celebration, every gift, every opportunity that comes from me will be mine to give or mine to withhold." My father opened his mouth, and Lily flinched, but neither of them could find the words. In that pause, the house, the very symbol of their power, finally reflected the truth. I was the rightful owner, standing at the top of the stairs, calm, victorious, and untouchable. By the time the champagne was poured again, I had already called my financial advisor. Every asset and every account tied to the house was now fully under my name. Every legal loophole my father thought he could exploit was sealed, notarized, and documented. Lily lingered near the buffet, pretending to nibble on canapes, but her eyes kept darting towards me. "This isn't over," she whispered when no one was looking. I smiled. "Oh, it is," I said softly. "You just didn't know the rules of the game." The guests, oblivious to the real tension, murmured about the unexpected turn in the family drama. But I didn't need them to witness my victory. The satisfaction was for me. I approached my father, calm and deliberate. "Every mortgage payment I made," I said, my voice low, "was with my own hard work, discipline, and patience. And you thought that meant nothing, that you could gift it away without consequence." He swallowed hard, unable to find the right words. I placed a hand lightly on the marble railing and glanced at the crowd. "Consider this a lesson," I said. "Underestimate me again, and the consequences won't be so quiet." For the first time, I felt the power of my own decisions and persistence. The house was mine legally, morally, and undeniably. They would remember this every time they stepped through that door. By evening, the atmosphere had changed completely. The laughter that once belonged to my father and sister now sounded hollow. The guests whispered, looking at them with a mix of sympathy, amusement, and a hint of respect for me. I moved to the balcony, letting the cold night air brush my face. I tasted freedom. The house, once a symbol of their dominance, now belonged to me. The realization felt almost surreal. My father approached me, hesitant and with a low voice. "Joyce, I thought you'd never." "You thought wrong," I interrupted, calm and precise. "I never needed your validation. I needed your acknowledgement that I could handle this alone." He opened his mouth again, but I silenced him with a simple nod. No argument could undo what was done. No apology could reverse the truth. Lily lingered behind him, trying to put on a brave face. "You'll regret this," she hissed. I smiled and stepped closer. "Regret? No. I'll just watch as you realize that underestimating me cost you everything." The wind whipped across the balcony, rattling the windows like applause. I breathed it in, steady, unshaken, and untouchable. 3 days, a mortgage, and a little patience had rewritten our family story, and I stood at the center of it, calm, victorious, and the rightful owner of everything I'd earned. The fallout didn't end at the party. 2 mornings later, my phone vibrated before sunrise. It was a message from Mr. Wilson. "They're panicking," he wrote. "Your father's trying to move assets. Your sister's asking if you'll reconsider." I sat at my kitchen table, still wrapped in a robe, watching the steam curl from my mug. It was funny how this was the quiet they never gave me when I was younger, and now it was mine. By noon, my father showed up at my house. He didn't knock. He never used to, But this time he hesitated, his hand hovering in the air, unsure of his place in the world. When I opened the door, he looked smaller, older, and cornered. "Let's talk," he said, forcing a calm tone. "Families don't need lawyers." I leaned against the doorframe, unbothered. "Families don't steal, either," I replied. Behind him, a realtor's car slowed down and stopped across the street. A sign was being unloaded. My father turned, confused. At the same time, Lily stepped out of her car, her eyes wide. That was when I finally understood. They still thought they were losing something small. They had no idea what was about to be taken next. The court documents were finalized on a quiet Thursday. There was no drama, no shouting. Just signatures, stamps, and the dull sound of permanence. The house was never Lily's to begin with. The mortgage I paid carried protections that my father never bothered to read. Mr. Wilson hadn't warned them out of kindness. He'd warned them because legally, he had to. By the time the realtor's sign went up, the truth had already settled in. Lily lost the house before she ever moved in. The graduation photos on her phone were now useless. My father lost something worse, his authority. He called me that night and left a voicemail. "I still don't understand why you're doing this," he said, his voice cracking in a way I'd never heard before. I listened to the voicemail once and then deleted it. This wasn't revenge fueled by anger. It was a consequence delivered calmly and exactly on time. I kept my house, my credit, and my silence. And for the first time, they were forced to live with the realization that I was never the extra child. I was the foundation they stood on, and the moment I stepped away, everything collapsed.